What's up guys, welcome back to the shop ute build. This thing has been coming along real nice in a real short amount of time, which is really nice. Absolutely stoked with the progress. Now this episode of this build is proudly brought to you by our boys there at Bend Brothers. Bend Brothers have supplied us with all of our fab materials for this particular project. If you haven't already seen his website, go and check it out. He does some awesome products. They've certainly made our life a hell of a lot easier. The quality of his material is second to none. It welds amazing, it always looks great. And we're stoked to have the support from Bend Brothers. So as you can see, we've got ourselves a nice box of goodies here. Nice little box of materials. Rex has been starting off some fabrication of the exhaust system. We'll give you a look at this when it goes on, but it's looking really good. Look at that merge that he's done.
Oh yes.
Really nice.
Not bad for a home jobby.
Yeah, so must remind you guys, I always say this in nearly every episode where we're doing fabrication work, but we are not professional fabricators. Our fabrication skills are of a hobbyist at best, I'd say. Fabrication's one of those things we do on our own projects and we do on certain projects where we agreed with customers to do it, but for big fabrication work, for work really need to be done really well, we always send it to the professionals. So this is just one of our home sort of jobs, our own project. That's why we're doing the fabrication on it. We'll be doing everything on this build, from the wiring, fabrication, the whole lot, just because it's ours. So go a bit easy on us with our fab work, because we're certainly not professionals, but we're pretty stoked with this. I'm pretty stoked with it. I didn't even do it. Rex is pretty stoked with it. He's happy with how it's coming along. These flex bellows that Bend Brothers do are absolutely amazing. We're a big fan of these things. So getting them bends directly out from them flanges has worked. It does clear the bottom arm mount. So all of those things that we were worried about in the last episode, turns out they have been pretty much all sorted and it's actually going to work really well, and we're totally stoked with it. So as well as that bit of fabrication, you can see that we've had some other stuff going on at the back here. Rex has been working hard at this thing in his spare time all week. You saw in the last episode, we got the turbo mounted and that's all well and good. So as well as that, now we've actually got our scavenge pump mounted. So this will actually be the scavenge pump which will draw the oil back out of the turbo drain and then pump that oil back up into the sump, into the fitting that we welded on in the last episode. Rex has also made a full bracket system to mount our water reservoir tank for our water to air intercooler, and our barrel and our pump. So this is the pump. This is pretty much the entire water to air intercooler system here, except for the heat exchange, which will go up the front, and it will hopefully just look like a regular old oil cooler, and hopefully no one will be any of the wiser as to what's going on down the back here except for what they can hear. So that's pretty much how the system's going to work. You can see the turbo feeds directly into our barrel, and that will just do a U-turn and then go back up the front as we talked about in the last episode. Rex also mounted the lift pump. So this is our lift pump which will go to our surge, which Rex has also mounted. It's out the back here above the diff. So Rex has also made a bracket system to mount up our surge tank just there. It's nice and up out of the way, up there above the diff where it should never get any damage or anything like that. It's very well protected. And our Walbro 255 high pressure pump there to feed this thing. So that's essentially going to be the fuel system except for the line. We've got most of the fittings here to finish it. So out of the tank to our lift pump, which is just a Aeroflow red or a Holy red, just a carby pump. That will feed the surge tank over here, and this will feed our engine. So the plan is still to do a deadhead fuel system from back here. What we're going to be using is a filter reg setup. So it's a filter and a regulator all in one, which will be mounted back here and returned straight to the tank. So it gives us just one nice, easy, simple fuel line straight up to the front. Very similar to what a Commodore system would be, except for we've actually got a surge tank and stuff like that. So you can see from all this back here that this is really moving along this project. You know, fuel system's getting there. Our turbo cooler system is pretty much getting there, and our solution to get the oil back to the sump and everything's here. Just about all we have left to do is the fabrication and the lines to make everything work, and then the wiring. So this project is moving along really nicely. Got the supervisor on site today. What do you reckon, Flynn? So Mumsy's gone away for the weekend, so that's why we've got our supervisor on site all weekend. Yeah, what do you reckon about that, buddy?
Like a bought one.
So you can see there how good that looks, and I can't even stress to you enough how impressed we are with these flex bellows.
Man, those
They're
just make life so
just the
easy.
best things ever.
That's beautiful. I really like it.
So yeah, as you can see, plenty enough clearance.
Got enough clearance to that converter there. And this one's a little bit tighter than the other side, but still acceptable. If
Big fan of that merge.
If anyone was really worried
Well
about
done.
it, we'd just have to take a hammer to it. Yeah, I was pretty happy. How I did it was actually I welded the two merge bits together and wrapped a bit of cardboard around the 3-inch tube.
Yep.
Taped it up, and then just marked it, and then cut it and just slowly trimmed it until I had the right shape, and then you just slide the pipe in,
Notch it and
just draw it, and then chop, and it wasn't a perfect fit, but as you can see, it was good enough.
yeah, looks awesome.
Good enough for me.
So this is the start. We were just explaining before that
And it's still enough that if you could leave the exhaust on and still get that panel. Just. I cut this piece off and redid it a few times to get it right. I wasn't real happy with it. So
yeah. But we're just explaining that this is as far back that we're going to do the exhaust to at this point until we get our gearbox mount in, which is still on the way. So we don't know exactly what level the back of the gearbox is going to sit, which could change the angle of this pipe. So in the interest of making sure it's perfect, we'll wait until we have everything in exactly where it's going to be going and mounted, in its final place before we continue the exhaust any further, or before Rex continues the exhaust any further, I should say.
Worst case is I'm still thinking about maybe just squashing it here just to try and keep it up a bit higher. So it may not really matter that much.
We could do a Joel and
as you can see, it's pretty close anyway.
You could do a Joel and just get a bit of the 2.5 and cut a strip and cut it down the middle.
Make our own oval.
Make some oval section. Probably take most of the day.
Well, you could do that with the 2.5. Yeah, just weld a strip down the middle.
I should also add that Ben Brothers do actually do oval sections as well. So if any of us are worrying or have trouble actually sourcing this sort of materials for your fabrication, oval sections, he does ready-made pie cuts in all sorts of angles. He even does the oval sections in pie cuts ready to go, so that you don't have to spend all day pie cutting. Like, for people like us, for how much he sells them for, they're worth every penny, because the amount of time that we save in having to do all the cuts because we don't have a bandsaw, not only just doing the cuts but then cleaning them all up to make sure they're made up perfectly, it's just so much easier being able to buy them ready done. So big ups.
Maybe doing what I did with exhaust on the VY and maybe just notch
a section out.
Notch that whole section, because it is going to reduce the cross sectional area, but it's going through a turbo anyway. The 3 inches.
You wouldn't even have
to
to notch the whole section. You'd have to notch each edge.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it might be easier
get it in
just to
and out.
cut a strip out.
Yep. Whatever's going to be easier. So the exhaust will come down this side, come down underneath the tail shaft, and then go into the turbo, as you can see. And that's good because it keeps all of our cold stuff on this side. So all of our lines, our oil going back, our intake will be going up this side. Everything this side will be cold. I don't know what Rex plans yet with the fuel line, whether he's going to run the fuel line up this side as well.
That side.
You're going to go that side?
Yeah, that's where the factory, all the fuel systems on that side.
No worries.
The oil line and the cooler lines are going to go down this side.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, our cooler lines is the other thing I was missing.
They have to go up to the front and back.
So that all comes down this side, and we'll just decide where that's going to happen when we get there, won't we, Flino?
Yeah.
So, heaps of room up the front for all our coolers, which is going to be great. Anyway, I've been through all that before, but So the plan at this point is just to use the radiator that was already in it, the 202 radiator. When I put the 202 in this car, that was a new radiator. So it hasn't done a lot of work, and the inlet and outlet are actually on the right side. So plan is to just use that radiator. However, I have been, someone reached out to me that has done a similar build on a H series, and they said that the VE radiator fits between the chassis rails. All you have to do is make mounts and it fits really well. So for anyone else that's looking to do something to build like that, if you don't have the right radiator, apparently the VE ones are great for it. But for us, we're just going to continue with the 202 radiator because it's good. It's nice and thick one that I got made up when I put the 202 in there, and the plan is just to try and find some fans to mount to it, which I'm thinking we can probably try and use the fans that came out of the BA wagon, because in the VS, I'm not using those fans because they won't fit, but they might fit in this thing. So that's probably the next thing we can have a look and check. So this is the filter reg. Those of you who followed our drift car builds, you would have seen it. We actually use these on a lot of LS converted stuff. So yeah, as the name implies, it's a filter and a regulator all in one. This one, I believe, is a 4-bar?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a 4-bar one. You can buy them in all sorts of different pressures. There are heaps of manufacturers that put them in cars standard, you know, Audi, VW, and you can buy them for the most part very, very cheap. And they're a very, very easy, nice, cheap solution for a fuel system filter regulator. So, you know, I'm pretty sure you can buy them in 4, 5, 3-bar, and usually they're around, you know, just over 30 bucks. So it's a win-win. They're a really good way to go. Most of them, obviously, being newer Euro cars and stuff like that, are all just quick connect as well. So you can buy these quick connect adapter fittings and just run AN, or if you want, you can make quick connect fuel lines. So yeah, super good way to go in this day and age. No need for really, really expensive setups. Alrighty, so we're back here this morning, just trying to sort of discuss and figure out exactly how we can run this exhaust system to try and get the most clearance out of it from the tail shaft and everything else. We have been chatting to a friend of ours that's actually doing a LS Turbo 400 into a HQ as well, and he will be running the same gearbox mount that Rex has ordered. So he's gone ahead and done us a solid and let us know that it's pretty much exactly 50 mil. So we'll just make sure we chock the box exactly where it's going to be, and we can probably go ahead and finish this exhaust without having to wait for that mount, which is awesome. So Rex is just looking at, we were thinking about coming here and coming under the tail shaft, which we already explained, but we're actually thinking at the moment about potentially going straight up and doing a U-turn up under the tray and clocking the rear housing around and coming down into the top of the turbo, just so it doesn't have to travel underneath the cross member. But it presents a few issues, so yeah, we're just sort of trying to figure out exactly which way we're going to go about it, because it's just hard, because, you know, ideally you want everything to be up as high as possible, but to come under the tail shaft you can only get so high. Anyway, gonna sort out a few other things first and then revisit it once we've actually got tail shaft and stuff in, and have a look what we can do with it, and actually exactly how low it will be if we come underneath. Because the other thing is Rex was planning to just leave it all one piece, so it'd be really easy just to bolt up underneath and just have a one-piece exhaust. Makes it nice and simple. But if we want to go up over the top like that, that's not going to be an option anymore. We're going to have to put a V-band in it, which the reason Rex wanted to limit how many joins we're in is because the more joins you have, the more potential there is for leaks. So anyway, we'll figure it out. We always do. So Rex has also started on our new fuel line, our new hard line. It runs straight onto the filter reg and down along this side. Righto, so back this afternoon. As you can see from those few clips, we've decided that it was best to go up over the top and down into the turbo from the top side. It just was going to make it much easier for our intake and everything else. So originally, you know, as we talked about, coming under the tail shaft was going to make it sort of that little bit too low for our liking. We would have liked a little bit more ground clearance. So the first option the Rex explored was just to come straight across from where it goes under the cross member, because obviously the further up in the shaft you go, if it was under there, it'd be higher up. So we entertained the thought of just coming straight across to here, which would have worked all right. It actually would have gone, sat quite high up. It wouldn't have been too bad. But the issue that presents then is that's taking up this space, which would then leave us with nowhere to run the intake really. That was going to be high. You know, the only other way we could run the intake then would be right down this end or this side of the car, which would have presented the exact same issue where the intake's way too low. So we sort of needed to leave this open so that we can run our intake pipe up there and keep it as high as we can, and keep the exhaust over this side, keep it as high as we can. So the solution was to come under here and then straight up with the exhaust, and then all the way up over the top, so it's not in the way of our dump pipe and not in the way of our intake, and that is how it has ended up. So it did have to be two pieces. We've got our V-band in there, which is all well and good. These Ben Brothers V-bands are quick release, they're really easy to work with, so not a big deal at all. It is one spot for a potential leak, but hopefully we never have to deal with that, and we will just have to create a bit of a heat shield for the fuel tank and make sure it's really well shielded. But apart from that, should be all gravy the way this is happening. So that's all tacked together and it's looking really good. Rex is just finishing up this piece. He did have to notch it where it goes under the cross member there, which we still have to, I suppose, weld up and seal up. But apart from that, this piece is sort of coming along pretty well. Got our wastegate out ready to go. It's a Pulsar Turbos wastegate, so fairly cheap item. We've used them on a few cars now and not had a problem, so we're sticking to them as far as a real budget option goes. So running the single 50mm on this thing, and should be plenty of gate, provided we have a really good priority flow area to put it, which given the length of this piece of exhaust should not be a problem at all. Righto guys, so we've got that classic early Monday morning rush to get a few things finalised on the personal project before we get it out and start moving along with our week of customer stuff. So as you can see, Rex got this exhaust system mostly pretty much finished off. Still got to mount our gate. We're looking at this, we're thinking once this comes down, we might have a few instances where it sort of, this tail shaft does maybe touch that pipe, but shouldn't really be a problem. We'll just keep an eye on it really, but there's not really a lot of other options of where Rex could take it. So it just is what it is, so we'll just keep an eye on that. Got a 3-inch flex bellow there. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of the whole situation. That goes up over the top into our turbo. So Rex is thinking about putting the gate up the top here, off this corner. Face it sort of away from the fuel tank a bit, and then run the screamer down, and then we're going to turn this tank around so that this fitting will be in this corner, and then the dump pipe will pretty much come straight sort of underneath this tank. Is essentially the plan of attack at this stage with what we've got here. If we do find we're having some sort of issues with the tail shaft hitting that bit of a section of pipe, might end up putting another flex bellow in here or something, just to allow that to take that little bit of a tap and not be a problem. Essentially that's a flex bellow there. If it contacts that, it's going to transverse this probably into where the turbo is, but as we know, the turbo brackets have a little bit of give anyway. So the turbo is not like solid mounted. It will move, so it shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, as you can see, that whole pipe's fairly tucked up. It's higher than the bottom of the sump the whole way along. And you can see this part where Rex scalloped out. Oh, you have welded that up?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So you solid that up again, so that's just cut out for that cross member a bit. And yeah, again, things like that, not really worried about for this thing because, you know, we're fitting a turbo. We're not chasing every last inch of horsepower out of this thing. It is sort of just a bit of a fun throw together. So it's definitely all going to be enough to do what we want to do. But I'm pretty stoked with how that looks. I'm sure Rex is. And once again, huge thank you to Ben Brothers for supplying us all this awesome material. It's certainly made our fab work, just having Ben Brothers available, and the materials that he does, the tools that he does available to us, has really stepped up our fab work even in the time that we've been working with him. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for the weekend, and I'm probably just going to end the video here. I know that this episode is probably going to be fairly short, but I don't want to wait for a whole another week to get any more content on it because, I don't know, we'll see how we go during the week. We might start doing some nights on this thing just to get it sorted, but at this stage, it's a weekend thing, spare time thing, so I don't want to wait a whole nother week to continue to get footage. So that's going to be it. Thank you for watching. As always, hope you're enjoying the build. We're getting pretty stoked about it, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, see you, bye.